Alleluia, Christ is risen. He is risen indeed. Alleluia. Today, Easter, is the key day of our Christian faith. It's the day upon which everything turns. In our gospel this morning, the women go into the tomb to anoint Jesus, and they are met by an angel, and then sent to tell the other disciples that the Lord is no longer in the tomb. Jesus is risen from the dead. God has conquered darkness. Resurrection is extraordinary, but it's not a new idea. For centuries before Christ, it was prominent in legend. But the lasting power of Christianity comes from our belief that the resurrection is no mere legend, but it's real. On Thursday of Holy Week, Jesus shares his final Passover meal and is betrayed. On Good Friday, he is crucified. On Holy Saturday, the Sabbath is observed. And today, Jesus defeats death. It is truly remarkable and often difficult to understand, even some ways hard to believe. Of course, we can understand resurrection in the world around us, seeing seeds that die and grow into plants, and eggs that crack to give birth to little chicks, and caterpillars that go into cocoons and emerge as butterflies. But resurrection in our human lives, it is not an easy core belief. It wasn't easy for Jesus' disciples. They stayed in the upper room, wondering what to make of everything that had just happened. But they discover there is so much more to Christ than they could ever believe. And this more, finding more, is important. Today we go with the women to the tomb. We are with the disciples when Jesus enters. On Easter, along with these disciples, we are all discovering how much more there really is to our God who has risen. St. Ignatius was a 15th century Spanish saint, and he was a soldier turned priest who put together something called the spiritual exercises. And these retreats are meant to be a form of exercise, that they stretch us. St. Ignatius is all about the more that God intends for us. It's not a more simply based on achievements, more money, more prestige, more possessions, but it's about the more of God, more love, more hope, more peace. And Ignatius says it is important to ask for the more of God that we want. The more we want meets us where we are. Perhaps there are some this Easter who seek to understand where resurrection is in the midst of their life. There's been a change. There's a new beginning. Perhaps it's a new job or entering into retirement. There's some kind of old reality that is no longer there. And Ignatius would say, ask for God to enter into this new life with joy as we die to the old and welcome the new. Perhaps there are some who seek to understand resurrection in its fullness. What happens after our earthly death? What does it mean for Christ to rise and for all of us one day to rise with Christ? The more meets us where we are and in the way that we desire most. And this desire is important. The wanting is important, and our wants matter. Our desires shape our lives, including our spiritual lives, our relationship with God. There are times when what we want is clear. Lord, I want to love the difficult neighbor more. I want to know comfort in my grief. I want to recognize the Christ in the one that seems so different than me. But there are times when we need even to ask for this desire to desire more. There are times when we feel a bit lethargic spiritually, physically, or emotionally, when wanting more isn't in our scope. And here Ignatius recommends that we ask for this desire to want more. When it comes to Easter, there may be some for whom we begin here. Lord, I want there to be more than where I find myself now. I want to understand more. I want to believe more in resurrection. The more meets us exactly where we really are. And Easter meets us here too. The Lord is risen. Resurrection is here. It is our reality in faith. We celebrate with joy and alleluias. Today is the central aspect of our Christian faith. There is more than death. There is more than darkness. There is more than we could believe before. And today is Easter Day, but Easter as a season lasts 50 days. So there is time to ask for more, to realize more, to receive all the more our loving God has to give. May we all find more this Easter, more life, more joy, more love. Christ is risen. The Lord is risen indeed. Alleluia.